let's get to something meaningful. Speaking of tribalistic politics, speaking of tribalism, speaking of turning children against their parents, this story is shocking. Now, the bottom, sorry, my eye is itchy. The bottom line, or the top line 30,000 foot overview to this story is a kid, 19-year-old kid, went and recorded his dad talking allegedly or confirming that he broke the law on January 6th, and then submitted it to the FBI tip after Googling anonymous tips to the FBI. He basically turned his dad in. Now, I am sure that there's probably more to this story, like they're more in the family dynamic, that there might very well be abuse in this family. I don't know. I've read some comments to the effect that, the father was abusive, whatever. Abusive or not, this story shows how politics can actually be used to weaponize the prosecutorial process itself. Let's just assume that there was, in fact, abuse in this story between father, son, father, wife, whatever. If a kid is now using politics to find ways to weaponize the prosecutorial system against an abusive father, that would be interesting from a cynical perspective enough. And it would show the problems. Weaponizing something for what might be a good reason doesn't change the fact that the system can and is being weaponized. Can be and is being weaponized. But let's read this story, because it's fascinating. And I think, until, even if those other details, if they do come out and they turn out to be true, it's still shocking. The kid, I'm not trying to put any specific person on blast. It's in the article. You can read it. Son of a January 6th defendant Googled the FBI tip line to report his father. He took the stand Thursday as a witness for the prosecution in the trial of his father, Guy Reffitt, the first January 6th defendant to stand trial. The first January 6th defendant to stand trial? No, maybe to stand jury trial. We had the acquittal of the other guy who stood trial, but he spoke of sitting in his bedroom while his father was at home and secretly Googling the FBI tip line to tell the Bureau about his father because he was worried about what his father might do. Back in the day, by the way, let me put that on hold. Back in the day in Canada, CBC, Joys of Snitching Neighbor. Back in the day, CBC, which some people call the Communist Broadcasting Corporation, put out this article. April 2020. This was right, a month into COVID lockdowns. This was a month into 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And it's a real article. The pleasure and peril of snitching on your neighbors during a pandemic. What is the CBC promoting by way of idea here? They lock you down. They isolate you from friends and family. They destroy the fundamental pillars of society: religion, education, family. And then they go out and write a piece pushing, promoting, suggesting, planting the seed of the idea that there might be pleasure on snitching on your neighbor in a pandemic. Experts say reporting on neighbors offers a sense of control, but adversely affects minorities. The problem with it is not that it makes neighbors snitch on neighbors. It's that it might adversely affect minorities. Screw the white majority. So it doesn't matter if it affects them. It might affect minorities. That's the problem of snitching on your neighbors. Not turning neighbor against neighbor, desecrating the very fabric of society. That's not the problem. The problem is that in doing it, sure, you'll screw whitey, but they deserve it. It might get minorities, and that could be a problem. I don't even want to go into this. So anyways, it goes into so far this month, 383 people have called the city about physical distancing. People called, this was back when everyone was freaking out and didn't know better. And yeah, it doesn't matter. The problem with snitching is not that people are snitching and destroying the fabric of society. It's that it might adversely affect minorities. Otherwise, it's totally fine to do. Go ahead and do it and knock yourself out. Atrocious. Okay, so listen to this. So he's secretly Googling an FBI tip line to turn in his dad because he's worried about what his dad might do. When prosecutors called his son to the stand, Guy Reffitt immediately began to cry, wiping his eyes through his white mask, his face turning red. Now, I'm wondering, is he crying because of the actual betrayal, or is he crying because he knows he's going to go to jail because he was a bad man? His son did what he had to do. He entered the courtroom wearing a pink shirt, dark suit, long hair, and a black mask. There was some, that gives you a hint of what's coming, by the way, because here it is. Pretty Great Jackson said when he took the stand and he told jury about his relationship with his dad, explaining that the two grew more distant after he spent some time abroad in 2016 to live in Malaysia. Yeah, they grew more distant. And I can't imagine, I was thinking the other day that there's no worse feeling for a child than disappointing his father. From a spiritual and overall perspective, I cannot imagine the feeling of a father being so betrayed by his son or his daughter. I can't. And this kid, may he live forever. Like from the movie 300, may you live forever to be an old man and possibly have lost your father, because his dad might be going to jail for a long time given the charges. May you live forever, son. Everyone, that was, I didn't like the movie 300. That was the only scene that actually stuck with me, when they tell that golem type creature, may you live forever. And he immediately understood the awfulness of what he did. At one point, Jackson discussed the far-right extremist group his dad belongs to, the 3% militia. I'm going to Google this after, because I've never heard of it. I'm curious to know if it's actually far-right extremist. I don't know what it is, and I don't know what far-right extremist means anymore. Now that we've seen that apparently if you're anti-mask, you're a right-wing extremist. Yada, yada, yada. His mother's crying. Yeah. It felt gross to be Googling a way to tip the FBI about his dad. To report my father, Jackson told. Okay. 19. Said that his politics differ from his father's. As he put it, where he goes left, his father goes right. And then we get into the charges because they're serious. He's accused of transporting firearms from Texas to Washington, D.C. Now, this is where, crossing state lines. I don't understand the nature of these laws, or what laws he might have broken. I understand the nature. I just don't know the exact law. Jackson identified the 3%ers logo on clothing belonging to the dad, stickers, whatever, yada, yada. He said his father has told him that the group's name is derived from the American Revolution. Oh, that sounds totally extremist, the founding fathers of America. His father wouldn't let him stay in the house when the group met there. Okay, yada, yada, yada. He testified that Guy Reffitt pretty much all the time keeps his Smith & Wesson gun on his hip. That's the gun Reffitt is accused of carrying during the riot at the Capitol. In photos showed by prosecutors, Jackson identified a handgun on the nightstand in his father's bedroom and a Trump hat Guy Reffitt would wear every day or so. Oh, listen to this. And then he's talking about his dad. Jackson testified about messages his father allegedly sent to his family, including one that read, "We did it in the Civil War, and now we are doing it again. It's the government that is going to be destroyed in this fight." Jackson first learned of his father's participation in the attack when he returned to the family's home to see his mother and sister watching news coverage. I'm curious to know how they even knew that his dad had a firearm there. Prosecutors then played for the jurors multiple audio recordings Jackson said he took of his father upon his return from January 6th attack. Quote, I had a very epic point in my life, Guy is heard saying in one recording. I felt so patriotic, he told his family, adding that Donald Trump's presidency was not the issue. It was the, quote, disgusting people, end quote, inside the Capitol who needed to be removed. We're gonna get to this afterwards. Prosecutors allege that Guy Reffitt specifically targeted Speaker Pelosi and Mitch McConnell. According to the recordings played for the jury, Jackson captured his father admitting now I'm wondering what the evidence is other than this recording, that he carried a gun outside the Capitol, an offense that carries years in prison. You carried a weapon onto Capitol grounds, Jackson is heard saying. Okay, Guy responded, adding later, I did it. I did bring a weapon on property that we own. Well, let's just see here. Oh, listen to this. as if it was not gross enough. If he had just turned in his dad for politics, it would have been one thing. And soon the prosecutor, Risa Burkowski, closed her questioning in the courtroom, grew silent when Jackson said he didn't regret turning his father in. I think this is the best case scenario, he said. I think it probably is for you. Jackson set up a GoFundMe account worth $158,000 from donations after He told his story to the media and had to move out of his parents' home out of fear of conflict. He said the money made him feel guilty because his family is struggling too. May you live forever, son. This is the issue. If there's underlying abuse going on here, and this was a way of getting back or a way of protecting, that'll add a whole new dynamic to the story. It would still show how politics can be used to weaponize the prosecutorial process. But from the sounds of it, that's not what it sounds like. Guy Reffitt's attorneys tried to poke holes in his son's testimony, asking questions about the defendant's alcohol and Xanax use, his mental health status, all supposed defenses for his actions, and implied that the son should have known to stop the conversation before his father had allegedly made the threatening comment. His attorney suggested Wednesday that he'll argue the case against Guy Reffitt is a lot of hype, that he's prone to brag, he exaggerates and rants and uses a lot of hyperbole. Yeah, well, that defense might work on Michael Sussman with a DC jury. That defense probably not going to work on Guy Reffitt with a DC jury. If convicted, Guy Reffitt could face a maximum sentence of 60 years in prison. It's atrocious, hands down, without qualification, atrocious. If there's nothing, if there's nothing else that might explain the necessity of it, atrocious. Okay, let's do some super chats. By the way, before we do the super chats, just listen to this for 1 second. It's absolutely quiet here. I'm alone. I am alone. At least I'm alone for maybe another hour and a half. No kids. My wife not here. It's not. I love the kids and I love the family. Everybody, and we're not on a break. The kids are play dates, and I happen to have 2 hours, which is why I put together the stream. Now it's not quiet because the ventilation just went on, but silence, absolute silence. Nobody's nagging me. I don't hear kids screaming and fighting. I was out at Beaver Lake earlier today with Winston and 2 kids. And we were feeding the goldfish, and man, like parenting is just it's endless stress. It's endless stress. I'm dragging a dog that doesn't want to walk. The kids are running off. Kids are defined by their lack of awareness of the existence and needs of others. That's what makes a kid, and that's what makes an adult an asshole, by the way. It's an amazing thought I had. Kids, it's not through malice. It's not through selfishness. They just don't yet understand other people exist and other people have needs as well. When a kid turns into an adult and has that same perspective, that makes them an a-hole of an adult. What makes a kid is, in an adult, what makes an a-hole of an adult. Sitting there dragging a dog, chasing after 2 kids, and it's like endless stress. Okay, all that to say. I'm joking. This is an old one from yesterday. Okay, super chat. Off topic. Have you ordered your copy of the children's book, How the PM Stole Freedom, bestseller on Amazon before it's taken off the market? No. But what I am going to do is go make an Amazon affiliate link and put that out there. Call it opportunistic, people. I will promote that book and try to make a living off of it as well. That's I'm gonna go. I screenshotted that, so we're gonna see. Okay, this story undoubtedly played out similarly during the Third Reich. Congrats, globalists. So we're gonna read it. It's Mao Zedong's China. It's Soviet Russia. It's Nazi Germany. It's all totalitarian, authoritarian, fascistic regimes. Abolish religion, abolish family, appropriate education. It's not. I mean, this is my own personal thought process here. It's not an accident the way the government went after this. The government wants to replace God. We talked about it yesterday. The government wants to replace God. They want to replace parents. They want to replace family. They want to replace education. It's what they've done in all fascistic, totalitarian, authoritarian regimes. And the way you do that, control education, outlaw religion, or become the new religion, and turn community on itself.